Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport, where the best drivers in the world compete for glory. But not every driver can live up to the expectations, and some end up being the worst of the worst. Who are the 6 worst Formula drivers of 2023? Come, let's find out. Number 1. Nick Latifi. Nick Latifi, a Canadian racing driver, had a challenging year in 2023. He was part of the Williams team in Formula One, but his performance was not up to the mark. Despite his efforts, he failed to score a single point throughout the season. This was a significant drop from his previous seasons, where he managed to score some championship points. One of the notable instances of his poor performance was at the Italian Grand Prix. Here, he was outperformed by Nick de Vries, who stepped in for Alex Albon and finished 9th, scoring 2 points. In contrast, Latifi's performance led to no points. His performance was not just a disappointment to himself, but also his team. The Williams team had expected Latifi to display encouraging performances. However, his consistent underperformance led to speculation about his future with the team. By the end of the 2023 season, it was clear that Latifi's future with Williams was uncertain. His contract with Williams was up for renewal, but his poor performance cast doubts on his continuation with the team. Eventually, it was announced that Latifi would not continue with the Williams team for the 2023 campaign. This marked the end of Latifi's 3-year stint with Williams in Formula One. His best result during this period was a 7th-place finish at the Hungarian Grand Prix in the previous year. However, such performances were few and far between, leading to his eventual departure from the team. The year 2023 was tough for Nick Latifi. His performance was not up to par, leading to his departure from the Williams team in Formula One. It was a year of missed opportunities and unfulfilled potential for the Canadian racing driver. Number 2. Logan Sargent. Logan Sargent, an American racing driver, had a difficult year in 2023. He was part of the Williams team in Formula One, but his performance was not up to the mark. Despite his efforts, he scored only a single point throughout the season. This was a significant drop from his previous seasons, where he managed to score some championship points. One of the notable instances of his poor performance was at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Here, his qualifying performance was less than stellar, a stark contrast to his impressive 6th-place qualification in Las Vegas. His missteps, particularly at Turn 1, where he twice exceeded track limits, resulted in his times being invalidated. His performance was not just a disappointment to himself, but also his team. The Williams team had expected Sargent to display encouraging performances. However, his consistent underperformance led to speculation about his future with the team. In fact, Williams clinched the 2023 Destructors Championship, incurring a substantial $7 million in damages largely attributed to the on-track struggles of Sargent. Number 3. Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll, a Canadian racing driver, had a challenging year in 2023. He was part of the Aston Martin team in Formula One, but his performance was not up to the mark. Despite his efforts, he scored only a total of 74 points throughout the season. This was a significant drop from his previous season, where he managed to score more championship points. One of the notable instances of his poor performance was at the Singapore Grand Prix. Here, he had a huge crash during qualifying, which resulted in him sitting out the Grand Prix race. His missteps, particularly at Turn 1, where he twice exceeded track limits, resulted in his times being invalidated. His performance was not just a disappointment to himself, but also his team. The Aston Martin team had expected Stroll to display encouraging performances. However, his consistent underperformance led to speculation about his future with the team. In fact, he finished a staggering 132 points behind his teammate, Fernando Alonso. By the end of the 2023 season, it was clear that Stroll's future with Aston Martin was uncertain. His contract with Aston Martin was up for renewal, but his poor performance cast doubts on his continuation with the team. The year 2023 was tough for Lance Stroll. His performance was not up to par, leading to his departure from the Aston Martin team in Formula One. Number 4. Kevin Magnussen. Kevin Magnussen, the Formula One driver, had a challenging season in 2023. He was outperformed by his Haas teammate, Nico Hülkenberg, both in qualifying and in races. Magnussen's championship position was 19th, with a total of just 3 points. His best Grand Prix result was 10th, which he achieved in Saudi Arabia, Miami, and Singapore. However, he didn't have any wins, podiums, or top 5 finishes. Out of 22 starts, he finished 17 races and did not finish 5. He completed 1,169 laps, which is about 88.23% of the total laps. However, he didn't lead any laps and spent very little time in the top 10. His best qualifying result was 4th in the Miami Grand Prix, but his average qualifying position was 15.14, which is quite low. He was out-qualified by his teammate 15 times. Magnussen's performance in 2023 was below par. He struggled to score points and was often outperformed by his teammates. Despite a few decent finishes, he was unable to consistently compete at the top level. This resulted in a low championship position and a lack of notable achievements during the season. His struggles highlight the competitive nature of Formula One and the challenges faced by drivers in the sport. Number 5. Sergio Perez. Sergio Perez, the Formula One driver from the Red Bull Racing team, had a disappointing season in 2023. Despite driving one of the greatest Formula One cars of all time, Perez's performance was not up to the mark. He secured his best ever finish in the World Championship by taking second place, but this was more indicative of Red Bull's dominance than his success. Perez started the season on a high note with 2 Grand Prix victories in the opening 4 rounds in Jeddah and Baku. However, his performance declined as the season progressed. Despite leading the majority of the race in Miami, Perez was overtaken by his teammate Max Verstappen in the closing laps, losing a victory that should have been his. Following this, Perez's championship campaign collapsed. He left Monaco without a point after crashing out in Q1 and bullying rivals in the race. He was knocked out of Q2 in Spain, and then again in Austria after having 3 separate laps deleted for exceeding track limits in the second round. By the time he arrived in Hungary, Perez had not seen Q3 action for 5 consecutive rounds. Despite these challenges, Perez had some notable performances. He finished second in Bahrain and Miami and first in Saudi Arabia and Azerbaijan. However, these highs were overshadowed by his lows, including not finishing the race in Japan and Mexico. Perez's 2023 season was marked by inconsistency. While he had some strong performances, he also had many disappointing races. His inability to consistently compete at the top level, despite driving a dominant car, resulted in a season that was below expectations. Number 6. Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, the Formula One driver from Ferrari, had a challenging season in 2023. His performance was a mix of highs and lows, with mechanical setbacks and driver errors leading to a 5th-place finish in the driver's standings. Leclerc's season started with a series of disappointing results, largely due to mechanical issues. However, a significant turnaround was witnessed at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, where Leclerc secured pole position and finished 3rd. This marked his 25th career podium and showcased Ferrari's improved performance and Leclerc's exceptional driving under pressure. Further successes followed, with Leclerc achieving 2nd place in the Austrian Grand Prix and another podium finish at the Belgian Grand Prix. These results demonstrated his ability to maximize the car's performance, even when competing against more dominant teams like Red Bull Racing. The Las Vegas Grand Prix was probably his best race, where he led the race for a while and passed Perez in the last lap at 354 km per hour, showing his extraordinary skill and talent. However, Leclerc's season was also marked by a series of lows. He had 2 retirements in his first 3 races and was knocked out of Q2 in Spain, then again in Austria after having 3 separate laps deleted for exceeding track limits in the second round. By the time he arrived in Hungary, Leclerc had not seen Q3 action for 5 consecutive rounds. In terms of season statistics, Leclerc completed the season with 0 wins, 3 second-place finishes, 3 third-place finishes, 6 podiums in total, and 5 pole positions. He completed 1,147 laps throughout the season, with an average point score of 9.36 per race. Despite these achievements, Leclerc's performance was overshadowed by his struggles, including not finishing the race in Japan and Mexico. His battle with teammate Carlos Sainz characterized Leclerc's season. While both drivers faced similar challenges with the car, Leclerc edged out Sainz in the final standings, finishing 5th with 206 points compared to Sainz's 7th place with 200 points. This close competition within Ferrari highlighted the pair's comparable skill levels and the internal dynamics at Ferrari. They were supposed to be the best of the best, but they turned out to be the worst of the worst. These drivers are some of the 6 Formula One drivers who disappointed everyone in 2023. How did they ruin their careers and reputations? Comment your thoughts on this and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.